Hi everybody and a big welcome to cEDH TV gameplay. In this video you're going to see our hands throughout the match and sometimes even hear our thought process on what we are speculating on how we are strategizing during the match. With us today we have Tangelo playing Anje.
Hello. So today I'm bringing Thrasios, but it's actually good, so not Tymna. Even though Tymna is the better commander, I don't know. I saw Snuski land a Valley Flood Caller with Glarbouts, and I realized, wait, commanders who synergize with Flood Caller might actually be a thing. So this deck is pretty hard on Flood Caller lines and Necro lines because those work with Flood Caller. So it's a new brew. I don't know how it works, but let's try it out.
Anje Falconwrath got a lot of hits during the ban as far as the turbo version is concerned, right? We lost Dockside and Crypt, which are two ways to get Anje out early, as well as a lot of Anje lists were on Dockside Curio stuff. But I'm really interested in how many pieces of interaction are in the Madness suite. And with Anje out, that they basically just turned into cantripping interaction. Just having a Lotus spot removal that where I don't have to go down hand size into the current very board state focused metagame.
Okay, I am back on the Derevi flight pattern, this time with Bear Claymore's build. So we were talking to Discord recently and he shared his list, so I was like, hey, I'll just play it. So got a bunch of different combo lines here, and actually this whole list that he has just explains what they are anyways. So if you want to check it out, it'll be in the link.
I felt like playing Mono Red Magda, so I'm playing Mono Red Magda. It's the basic typical clean Magda build, where you wanna get big dwarfs, or many dwarfs I should rather say, and then lots of artifacts, and then activate Magda to find artifact dwarf into finding a Clock of Omen, where you go infinite treasures and infinite everything and win. It's a cool deck and it's cool to be mono red. I just realized that there is a Dockside in this, so I'm gonna change this list. Let's grab random that one. Do you guys see any Docksides? I don't see any Docksides. I don't see any Mana Crypts either. Here we go! So I do like the hand, but I also don't like this hand. We have Mutavault, that's a dwarf. We have Springleaf Drum, so we will get Magda into play turn 2 and then activate Springleaf Drum immediately and then cast Mana Vault, maybe even go Dampening Sphere immediately. I mean, it's a solid hand, you can keep this, but you can get so much better too. I also don't know how good Dampening Sphere is actually versus these guys. If Dampening Sphere felt better, I might keep it, but I'm going to Mulligan. I'm being greedy. This is great. We found Clock of Omens in the hand, we have an Ancient Tomb, and we have a Fawn of Amethyst that we can get into play turn 1, where the starting play with Fawn in play. We actually even have a Artifact Dwarf in our hand, so we're going to keep this. I don't know exactly how we're going to sequence this. Depending on what we draw, it might be Ancient Tomb Fawn pass, or we might keep the Fawn. Nah, I have a strong feeling I'm gonna go Fawn turn 1, but regardless, this feels great. I like this opener. Let's see what Rhetoric is able to find.
I've been told multiple times that one thing to think about for this deck is to go hard for the One Ring. So let's just see how deep we gotta go. I mean, I'll probably go to 5, maybe 4, unless there's a really great list that's here. But I mean, look at this list right now. There is some kind of package where there's a ramp piece, there isn't a second land. I mean, all these cards, again, they look great, but I don't think I'm going to be doing anything. The deck wants to do things, and one of the things is putting a ring on it with the bird. So let's go ahead and go to our second set. All right, this one's a pass. I mean, we've got Boseiju and Crop Rot. Self-explanatory here, pretty easy pitch. We're going to go to 5 just because we have, again, interesting pieces, but not much to accelerate with. All right, now we have the opposite problem, but there's potential for Metalcraft here later on, and a Derevi on turn 2 at the very least, because we have enough land to pitch to the grave. And I've never played with this Crystal Barricade, which is interesting to have hexproof yourself, but also non-combat damage being dealt. So if we have someone playing Ballista or something else, it'd be okay. In case something gets blown up or later on, I'm going to go ahead and pitch the Mox Opal because it's contingent on Metalcraft. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to pitch this Thuron Quarry in case one of our creatures gets blown up. So then I have 2 lands I can play with if I do have a third one.
I've been staring at this hand for a couple of seconds, and I don't know. On first glance, I like it a lot, but there are a couple of problems. Because, for one, Carpet Flowers, there's only one blue player, and I think a island by my turn 2 is a pretty reasonable expectation. But unless we get an island turn 1, this hand looks a lot worse. Because without this carpet, just going turn 1 bird, turn 2 demonic tutor or like Wishclaw, that's not even a guaranteed turn 3 necro. So I think that's too big of a risk. Like another land or like some ramp or whatever, and it would be a sus keep, but still okay. I think here we're banking too much on Rhetoric to help us out, which he probably isn't inclined to. This hand has a different problem. We have a lot of lands, and during Vitality it's kind of cute with Francisco. It's one of those enablers to do cute things with Flood Color, but we don't really have any payoff. I guess we could save up mana to transmute artifacts, but no, that's not reasonable. So let's look for something with a bit more gas. One land and I would consider this hand, but as a no-lander on a 6, I'm not gambling. There's a world where I gamble if this was Necro and not Necro Dominance, but even then it's really sus. Let's just go to 5. So our 5 is dumb, but maybe works? This looks trash. I'm not gonna be straight. I guess on its height it's like an Imp Seal for turn 2 Mystic Grimoire, but we do have the Walking Ballista with the tutor, and our combo costs Commander in play and then 2 mana, because Walking Ballista is its own entomb, because you can play it for 0. So with this hand we can turn 1 tutor, we could even turn 1 Mystical Tutor for Dark Rit, turn 2 Imp Seal plus Francisco, and turn 3 just play the Cauldron, and then be able to hit with Francisco for an extra trigger. And the tutor for Dark Rit feels kind of sus. But the alternative is way slower, so I think I'm actually gonna do it. Just keeping Imp Seal, Mystical Tutor, Walking Ballista, double land. We might just win 3-3, or we might just do nothing. Let's see.
Draw a card for turn. That's good. Ancient Tomb. We're gonna tap that for a Fawn of the Amethyst. Non-creature spells cost 1 more to cast. Have fun! I pass!
Mons, what are you doing? What are you doing, Command Tower? And I'll tap the Command Tower Mons for a Mox Diamond. I'm gonna pitch this Shifting Woodlands, actually, and then pass.
We'll draw. Play a land and pass.
Land for turn will be a Polluted Delta, which I'll crack. Finding an Ungunsy, tapping it to cast a Chromox. Chromox resolves, and I will exile a Mystical Tutor to it, and then I'll pass my turn.
I'm gonna untap and draw a card. I'm gonna play a Barbarian Ring. I'm gonna cast a Gimlin, the Glittering Cave, of the Glittering Caves. So he has double strike, and whenever a legendary creature comes into play, I put a +1/+1 counter on that dwarf, but when he connects, I make a treasure, and because of double strike, it's 2 treasure. He doesn't have haste, that would be great, but I pass the turn here.
Untap and draw City of Brass, and cast Derevi. Untap this Command Tower, and then I pass.
I'll draw. I will play an Emergence Zone, and I'll exile a Simian Spirit Guide to cast Anje, losing 1 to City of Brass. I'll pass the turn.
Go to my turn. Land for turn will be a Verdant Catacombs. With that draw, we now have 2 different A+Bs in our hand with a tutor. So we have to ask ourselves, what's more likely to be interacted with? And in this case, it's honestly pretty clearly Francisco Walking Ballista, which is also more likely to fizzle. Because with Francisco Ballista, if you don't know, you fetch Soul Cauldron, Agatha's Soul Cauldron, and exile Walking Ballista to put the counter on Francisco. Then you can remove the counter to ping and explore. And if it's a non-land, you can put the counter on Francisco and do it again. And you just keep the non-land on top to do it forever. But if there's 2 lands in a row, 1 land on top, then you just fizzle. You can go to combat to get an extra activation, but if there's 2 lands on top, you just fizzle. So with that, and also Thrasios Circle being here, let's just tutor for consult. So let's just put the win on the stack next turn and see what happens. Tapping 2 to cast an Imp Seal. I'm finding this card, putting it on top, and then passing my turn.
I'm gonna draw a card. Little bit sad we didn't hit a land. We're gonna tap 3, float a colorless, and play Magda. We still have a mana floating, and I'm gonna cast a Mox Amber. Now, when this creature enters, we're gaining a +1/+1 counter on my Gimlin. I'm gonna go to combat and send Gimlin at Pontus, a 2/2 double striker.
No blocks.
You take 4 and I gain 2 treasures, but actually I gain a total of 3 treasures. So suddenly that Thorn is actually annoying, and I could have won the game here and now if it weren't in play, because with Mana Vault we top-decked Mana Vault, so we couldn't know. But with Mana Vault we would have acquired somewhat very close to the 7 mana needed to just put Clock and the Artifact Dwarf into play. Together with Springleaf Drum, that will speed things up too, because of how Springleaf Drum adds a mana and then a secondary treasure as well. I don't know if I want to put both of those into play. now, because that's going to put a target on my head. I think what we're going to do is maybe just cast Springleaf Drum and keep the lightning bolt at the ready, pass the turn, and hope to acquire 5 treasures in the next turn for potentially defense grid. I don't like putting the hate on my face too much by putting them into play. I'm gonna attack Mox Amber, cast a Springleaf Drum, sacrificing a treasure to pay for the fawn. Here I'm going to be done with the turn and pass.
Go to my turn. 3 mana for an arcane signet, huh? No thanks. Tap 2 and play this Crystal Barricade, which I'm sure many cEDH players have played before. But this card says, Defender, it's a 0/4. You have Hexproof. Prevent all non-combat damage that would be dealt other creatures you control. I will go to combat and attack you, Mons, because I feel like it.
I take 2.
I'm going to untap this command tower, and then I will tap 2 more to cast Thrasios, and then I will Passios.
We'll discard a Necrodwarf. It has Madness. I'll trigger and untap Anje. If we don't mind me shortcutting that, I would like to just discard Madness cards to draw a card. I'll discard an Asylum Visitor, drawing a card. I'll discard a Hell Mongrel to draw a card. I'll discard a Blood Pet to draw a card. And I'll go to my turn. Play a Marsh Flats. I'll also cast a Lion's Eye Diamond. I'll pass the turn.
In your end step, I'm gonna crack this right in Catacombs. Except, no.
I have no responses. If we're doing the joke, let's do the joke. I'm just finding a Badlands. We can proceed.
Okay, I'll take my turn. And now it's time to actually crack my rent. Finding a Undercity Sewers and Surveilling. That's... Would it be okay if we drew it now? But as we draw it next turn, I'm put this Death Ray Shaman into the graveyard. Something I forgot to account for when choosing plan is the fact that the Thorn is in play. So actually, the Soul Cauldron would be faster guaranteed. It can still be the same turn, since it's still this turn Francisco, next turn I got Soul Cauldron. But this way we need to draw land. And if we don't, we don't have it. Because it costs 4. I just kind of forgot that while calculating the lines. But I'm tapping 2 to cast a Walking Ballista XS1. And then, just to like deny these shenanigans before they even happen, let's just ping Walking Ballista. Ping Walking Ballista? No, ping Magda with the Walking Ballista immediately.
I have a response. I'm going to activate the Springleaf Drum, trigger Magda, gain a treasure. With the floating mana, Magda dead in the command zone, I'm gonna sacrifice a treasure to cast Lightning Bolt, using the mana, dealing 3 damage to Anje.
Okay, I'm gonna take a lot of game action. This is gonna look very interesting, but I'm basically turning my Lion's Eye Diamond into a Black Lotus. Discard a Anya's Ravager. Anya is going to untap, and I will have a Madness trigger. Hold priority on the Madness trigger and 1 draw trigger. An Alchemist's Greeting, resolving the untap, responding to the Madness trigger, and another draw trigger. Discarding a Kitchen Imp, holding priority on the Madness and the draw trigger. Discarding a Revolutionist, holding priority on both of these things. Then I don't mind resolving these 2 Madness triggers, because these Madness triggers are all above the draw triggers. I'm going to be cracking a Lion's Eye Diamond, discarding a Mana Confluence. Let's resolve that Madness trigger. I'm not casting it. It goes to yard. Resolve a draw trigger. Resolve this one. Resolve a draw to cast Alchemist Greeting, targeting your dwarf, Mons.
Mean. It's dead.
I'll resolve this draw trigger, and I have a Madness trigger. Do I want to cast this card? Yeah, I want to cast that. I'll cast Anya's Ravager, and then I will draw my last card. I have a few more things I want to discard. I want to try to hit my land drop next turn. I'll discard a Murderous Compulsion to draw a card. I'll discard a Pyroblast, and now Anje can die.
And I can go to my turn. What happened to my board state? We're gonna start things off with a Ragavan. Then we're gonna Springleaf Drum, and then 2 more. And Mox Amber to cast Magda. And then I pass.
Take my turn. Paying 2 mana. I'm going to sacrifice the City of Brass, and I'm going to cast a Crop Rotation. Crops will be rotated. Fetched up a Guy's Cradle. I will put 3 Forests in the pool and 1 whatever Assault Monolith. And then I'll move to combat. Derevi at Mons, and I will send Thrasios at Pontus for 1.
No blocks, take 1.
I take 2.
Great. So we have untapped triggers. I am going to untap Gaia's Cradle. The second will be Basalt Monolith. Before that resolves, tap Gaia's Cradle again for 3, and I will tap Basalt Monolith, putting 6 into the pool. And then I will put a Thrasios activation on the stack. I will put this Manamo School at Water's Edge, the battlefield tap. I will now untap the Basalt Monolith. I will tap this again, 5 colorless into the pool. to activate Thrasios once more. All right, then I'll show you guys a Flare of Denial. Excuse me. That's from the I Will Pass turn.
I'll play an Arid Mesa. I have to discard my hand. I have a Red Elemental Blast. I think it's supposed to target the Thrasios here. So, Sorcerer Speed, Red Elemental Blast, targeting Thrasios.
Sounds good. It's dead.
I'll crack my Arid Mesa. I'll find a Shockland. I'll lose 3 life. And then I will go to combat. Anya's Ravager, I will attack Mons and discard my hand, drawing 3 cards. I will have 1 Madness trigger on the stack. It's a Fiery Temper. I will cast it for its Madness cost, dealing 3 damage to Magda.
Magda is yet again dead to the command zone.
I'll pass the turn.
Go to my turn. That is not a land. So then we just tap 2 to cast our good commander, Francisco, leaving our bad commander in the command zone. And then I'm passing turn.
We're drawing a card. I'm attacking at... Actually, so wait. Anje's deck list is full of very expensive creatures. Pontus might have stuff that I can actually cast really expensive creatures when I think about it. But it's filled with really weird things. I think I have a much better Evo, a better chance of hitting something good on Pontus. So I'm attacking you, Pontus, with Dragavan.
No blocks. Take 2. And you will get a Moxstar.
So that is good, but I don't have a land, so it goes to permanent exile. I have a feeling there's gonna be more madness coming out with like damage, but we're gonna announce Magda 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. Yeah. And then I pass.
This is all madness. Let's untap. Let's just go to combat. Send 2 at the Tangelo.
Sure, we'll take 2.
I will untap this Basalt Monolith. All right, I'm going to pay 6 to put into my own Walking Ballista for 3. So 3 power.
Can this stop?
Pass. Hold the finger on the trigger.
I'll untap. I will draw. I'll play a Sandstone Needle. Comes in with 2 depletion counters. It taps for 2 red mana, but only twice. I'll go to combat, attacking Mons, attack trigger, discarding a Wold Georgia Dragon, a land, and a card with Madness.
I take 3 damage.
I have a Madness trigger. My thought process here is that I want to make sure Pontus only exists as a way to interact with my opponents and not as a proactive threat. Oh, you can't interact. Sure. We have Mons under the Ballista. I'll be casting the Nightshade Assassin for its Madness cost. When I display it, I may reveal X black cards from my hand. If I do, target creature gets -X until end of turn. If I drew 3 black things, this would be going towards Derevi, but I did not.
Kill my Magda. Do it.
I will target Ragavan.
Alright, Ragavan is probably dead. Reveal 1 black thing.
I will reveal 1 black Madness card. It is an Alms of the Vein. Just pass the turn.
Land for turn will be Gaia's Cradle. And before anyone has any ideas, I'll tap it for green. And tap this Chromox to cast Thrasios, actually. The bad one, but here we are. And with that, I'll pass turn.
I'm going to remove 1 counter from Ballista and send a bolt or whatever it sends at Magda.
I'm gonna tap Magda with Springleaf Drum and make a treasure, and then Magda is dead for the 8 mana commander text at something.
Win, Mons. You can still do this.
I'm gonna go to my turn and draw a card. I'm going to reveal to you a sudden shock. It has split second, and I intend to kill that Walking Ballista with it, so I can cast Magda and start trying to win this game. However, as it has split second, feel free to use 1 of your or 2 of your counters on that Walking Ballista before it's dead.
Mons, I love you, man, but that won't work because I've got a Crystal Barricade. So send it at Francisco or something else.
I'm gonna cast this Mana Vault and pass.
I feel like right now it's like 2-headed giant. For some reason, I want to rely on Tangelo to deal with Magda because of the pressure. I'm going to move to combat, and I'm going to send Derevi at Pontus. And we should probably attack with Walking Ballista. Go ahead and send that at Mons for 2.
I take 2.
No blocks, take 2.
We got 2 untap triggers at Gaia's Cradle, but before that, I'm going to activate Gaia's Cradle at least once. So 3 in the pool, 3 green. I will do it again, which puts 6, and then do it again, which puts 9. Put 2 counters on Walking Ballista. Nope. Other than that, I got a pass turn.
Tap draw. I'll play a Peat Bog. It's another depletion land. Mons, I'd like to attack you with a 2/1 with first strike. Pontus for 3 with Anya's Ravager. Attack trigger, I will discard 3 cards. 1 of them is a land, 2 of them are Madness.
I take 3.
No blocks, take 3.
I'll resolve the Grave Traveler. I'll cast it for its Madness cost. It is a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, if its Madness cost was paid, I may return target creature card from a graveyard to its owner's hand. I guess I'll put Revolutionist in hand. No, I'm not casting that. 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna have 1 red floating, casting Sacrifice. Sacrificing the Grave Scrabbler as part of cost. I'm going to add 4 mana to my mana pool if this resolves. I'll use 3 of the 4 plus the red I have floating to cast a Surly Badgersaur. This card says it's a 3/3. Whenever I discard a creature card, put a 1/1 counter on it. Whenever I discard a land card, make a treasure. Whenever I discard a non-creature, non-land, it's going to fight something. It fights up to one target creature I don't control.
Go to my turn. Play a land. Come on, Beacon. Pass my turn.
At the end of your turn, I'll tap Command Tower. Tap Manamo School at Water's Edge to untap Gaia's Cradle, and then I will put 3 in the pool from Gaia's Cradle as well as Mox Diamond to put another counter on Welcome Ballista. Let's just go to combat, and we are going to send we'll send a 5/5 at Mons. We will send a 2/2 in the air at Tangelo.
No blocks.
And then we'll do the same math. I'll do this again to make 9, and then I'll put 2 more counters on Walking Ballista. Pass turn.
Let's go to combat. All 3 of my creatures across the table. Rhetoric.
No blocks.
So, attack trigger. I have 2 Madness cards. You know about one of them. The other one's a Braingorger, and here's a Strike It Rich. I have 3 total Badgersaur triggers. I'll resolve the ones that provide 1/1 counters, and then there's a fight trigger. And then I will fight your wall. It's a 5/5.
I will remove 5 counters from Ballista to point 5 at the Badgersaur.
Understandable. I have 2 Madness triggers. We'll cast the Revolutionist. That's fine. If it enters the battlefields, I'm going to return target instant or sorcery card from my graveyard to my hand. Sure. Murderous Compulsion. It destroys target tapped creature. I also have 1 more Madness trigger, which I'm not going to play. Now damage can resolve. You're going to take a total of 5. I will play a tapped Agadeem's Awakening. Pass my turn.
In your end step, I'll do my Thrasios activation. I will scry, no. Revealing a Calling the Weak. Go to my turn. Now we're just sitting here, Thrasios Purgatory, so I'm passing.
Untap, draw a card. I gotta do something. I'm gonna cast a Lock of Omens. Sacrificing a treasure. After everyone pass on the Clock of Omens, I pass the turn.
All right, I'll do the same thing I did last time. I will put a mana into School of Water's Edge, and at Water's Edge, untap Gaia's Cradle, tap Mox Diamond and Gaia's Cradle for 4, put another counter on Ballista. Land for turn is an Exotic Orchard. All right, no, I'm going to go to combat and just send Derevi at Mons? Yeah, Mons, take 2.
I take 2.
And then we got an untap trigger. I'm going to put 3 in the pool with Gaia's Cradle, and then untap it, tap it again, and I will put another counter on Welcome Ballista. Now the mana has been depleted. I will just pass turn after that.
I'll draw. Lose 3 life to have a Mystic Peak enter untap. Pay 2. I'll just Murderous Compulsion. Targeting Derevi. Destroying target tapped creature.
She goes to the command zone.
It's A-okay. These cards are getting pitched anyways. I'll go to combat. Ravager at Pontus and another 5 at Mons. Attack trigger. I'm discarding a Tybalt's Trickery and a Big Game Hunter. Madness trigger on the stack. I'll cast this for its madness cost. It's going to destroy target creature with power 4 greater. I'd like to...
I'll use my Ballista to send 1 shot at the bird, Francisco, because Big Game Hunter will likely just kill Ballista. Or it could, if I didn't do anything.
In response, my mana is very valuable. I have very much to do, so I'm gonna activate the Thrasios in response to keep my 1 mana up, which I will absolutely be able to use. Scrying. You know what? Putting a tapped Calling Card into play, and then Francisco's dead.
We can go back down to combat step. There's 3 at Pontus, 5 at Mons.
I take 5.
Take 3.
Cast Anje. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She is a 1/3. I'm passing the turn after that.
Go to my turn. Oh, the double land drop. Let's go. Fetch my Scalding Tarn. Find me a tropical island. Tap my Gaia's Cradle for 1 green. Thank you, Rhetoric. Exile this Elvish Spirit Guide. Tap this tropical island for another green. Cast a Dozen. And then I'll just pass turn.
What? Me? I can take game actions. Draw a card. Play this land, Volatile Fault. As Magda will die, even though there's a Dozen in play, because that Walking Ballista is a 4/4, I'm just passing turn and dying to anything. Go for it, kill me with... I don't know.
Alright, at the end of your turn, I will tap 3 and this Basalt Monolith. Put Derevi onto the battlefield. 3 with the commander the ability, it means I have 2 remaining in the pool. So then I will untap Basalt Monolith, and then I will tap it again, and I will put another counter on Walking Ballista. Point them at Anje, whatever it is.
I'll pitch a Biting Rain. to draw a card. And then we'll pitch a Demonic Council to draw a card on your dice.
Combat. I will send Bonds at you for 1. Tangelo hit you for dose. Got a flyer. You don't have a flyer, right? And then we'll do our untap things that we've been doing recently to make a 9. So leave that there. Take my word for it. And I will put 2 more counters on Welcome Ballista. We're just playing casual, friends. So I'll pass turn.
On my upkeep, I would like to cast a Vampiric Tutor. I'll put this on top. I will go to my draw step. Play a Scalding Tarn. Don't see a better timing here, because I'm going to have to discard this. Cast Necromancy, targeting World Gorger Dragon.
All right, I'm going to remove 2 counters from Ballista and shoot Dosen.
No effect, doesn't dice.
3 for a counterspell.
Honest to goodness counterspell. I'll crack the Scalding Tarn. I'll find a Surveil and Surveil. Put that in bin. It's a Gorgon Recluse. I pass on counterspell. Sure.
In response to the counterspell targeting Necromancy, I'll Flusterstorm the counterspell.
Interesting. I know what's happening. He's trying to force out another... He's trying to get the other counterspell out of Rhetoric's hand, because we know about a Force of Denial.
Would I do that? Never.
And he has Win in hand, and he just miscounted mana, so he's trying to get more counter magic out.
That does not sound like me at all.
That only works if Rhetoric accepts the bullying. Rhetoric can just say, okay, I'll lose here.
Yeah, but I've played to my outs.
You're not dying here, Pontus. This action could make you lose if Rhetoric doesn't feel to your terrorism.
Dying once.
The storm count is 3.
Okay, I will pass on Flusterstorm.
Counterspell is countered. Necromancy is back on the stack.
I pass. I'll explain myself. This play looks correct because it is, but the reason... So my thinking here is, I don't know what's in Rhetoric's hands. He has been just sculpting his hand for a long time. It is possible that he has more than the one extra piece I know about. If that's the case, I always lose here. The only out I really have under the stacks piece is that I interact with this, force him to use another piece, and then I top deck the interaction. Otherwise, I always lose. Playing it this way, I can still top deck a win and have the mana for it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have the mana to win even if I drew the extra interaction. And if I lose to it, I lose to it, because that's the risks you take. In a tournament game, you might just argue this for a draw, but we're not going to do that. We lose with honor.
All right, so I think knowing that there's maybe a risk, I don't feel comfortable doing the 2 sort of plays here and kind of just leave myself naked. I feel like if I stop this, I've basically, because it was countered, that spell was countered, I'm basically assisting Pontus to win rather than stopping someone. It feels like I'm doing both, but if I'm stopping Tangelo, I'm assisting someone who just stopped what I did. So that's it. I'm going to let it go. I'll show you guys, I have Flare Denial and I have a Noxious Revival in my hand. So I think that that would put World Gorger, I think, on top of the library, so that would stop it. But in this case, I'm just going to let it go. So GG's.
I'm also going to let it go. I have a little mental blast for Pontus, but I don't accept the negotiation with terrorists. I'm dead anyways. I'm not winning this with a Balking Ballista in play anyway, so if I stop this, I can't fight and win.
World Gorger will enter the battlefield. I will respond to the ETB, floating mana of every color. Let's not tap this, I don't want to lose life. But floating mana, swing to enter and exile all of my permanents, which will include World Gorger Dragon. Necromancy will re-enter the battlefield due to the Necromancy, and all my other permanents will re-enter the battlefield due to the World Gorger leaving the battlefield trigger. Necromancy will re-enter the battlefield. Well, this one goes to graveyard. This one actually enters the battlefield as a creature. Necromancy is going to re-enter, picking up the World Gorger Dragon. Pinnacle Monk and Revolutionist are going to each return an instant or sorcery card from my graveyard to my hand. Fire Temper will go to my hand, and then I will continue the loop, floating more red mana. I will be able to cast Fiery Temper at instant speed, and then pick them back up with the Pinnacle Monks. I will deal infinite damage to...
So that was some very interesting politics at the end. To clarify some things, if this would have been a tournament, we'd have mostly made this into a draw. Pontus reveals his capacities to interact and basically kingmake someone, and because of that you could start to have a discussion around the table where in a tournament you would draw. However, in top cuts you aren't allowed to draw. And in normal Magic, you aren't allowed to draw either. What Pontus is trying to do here is remove counterspells from an opponent so that we can go to Pontus' turn where there are less counterspells on the table. The perfect way to deal with this is to just say, we're not going to accept this, so if you're putting me to a king-making position, I'm gonna king-make the other person than you. And then Pontus and whoever is doing this will stop doing this in the future, because this is just going to be a losing streak of, so to say.
Except it's the correct pattern, so I'll keep doing it, because I need to show you guys how you do this correctly in tournaments.
How about this then, Rhetoric? I have a perfect thing here. How about you and I increase our win rate? So whenever Pontus does this again, we just let him lose, and you and me, our win rate is gonna go up each time Pontus does this, and his win rate is gonna go down each time he does this.
It's happened once in like, how many wins do we have? 80? 100?
I mean,
it's not that common.
It's not that common, but I have a feeling you're gonna. I have a feeling you're gonna try to prove a point and do it again.
No, I just keep playing to my outs, and that was my out this game.
It's interesting because what you all didn't hear, you heard some talk, the audience did, but we're talking about a couple of things. Angela, if I can ask you, we were talking kind of a little bit after the game and before, you said you saw a line, which I thought was interesting too, because when you're in the weeds, it really like demonstrates like how important like table talk is. So when that happened, and I'm hearing like Mons, we're talking like they'll let it happen.
I think what I would have done in your position was asked for everyone on the table who isn't him to go face up. What's our interaction? Do we actually just lose here? Right? Let's determine that, and then we can actually determine whether or not this is a king-making scenario. We can assume Pontus is going to win, right? But if we look at everyone's interaction, what the out could have been, from what I saw, is if you knock survival my World Gorger, stop the win, you force me to kill Mons so that you have the flair for Pontus.
I just want to say that even that scenario shows that I was right in how I played this, because then I still have the chance to draw another interaction to interact with the extra interaction.
I mean, you could have just kept your Flusterstorm and go to your turn. And
yeah, but we're assuming that, in my place here, we're assuming that he has 3 pieces of interaction. He has one we know of, and he used another one instead of that one. And he's sculpting his hand for that long. There's a huge risk he has 3 pieces of interaction. I can beat two with the one he uses on Tangelo here. If he has the third one, I'm just screwed because I don't have the mana to interact with that, even if I top take a counterspell. So what I need to do is to use my mana here to interact with his first one, bait out the second one, and then hope I top take a third one for my next turn, if he has 3. If he has 2, I put him in the game in the king-making situation, and either he punishes me and I lose, which I would do either way.
Pontus, I think you're not taking into account the fact that you could have simply not gone for a win and then not lose to to Rhetoric.
I think I agree with Tangelo. You could just...
You have a Thrasios card draw engine, and Rhetoric has like 1/1 counter engine. Like, he's not drawing cards. You two are in the same position. You're seeing more cards than him. You say he's been sculpting. No, he's been top decking the same as you, but now you have a Thrasios.
Tangelo is drawing more cards to you, Pontus, but you're drawing more cards than Rhetoric here. You're not sitting that... You could have gone one more turn cycle here.
Yeah, one more turn cycle. Like, I disagree that my chances are that good.
I think your chances get better the more turn cycles you see. Like, sure, I did have a lot of life total pressure starting to build up, but that wouldn't have killed you. That wasn't going to kill you for another 5 rotations.
Assuming you do nothing each turn. Like, if you compare our boards, you amass board way bigger than I do. Like, I draw 2 cards, you amass power.
I agree. The problem with my board state with how Anje kept on getting removed is that my only way to get value is with the Ravager, so I can't stockpile resources. I have to.
Of course.
I would like to also, not to say anything bad about Anje, but I think that the card threat level from Pontus deck is higher. Or what would you say, Tangelo? Like, you're gonna put more beaters into play, or that's...
It's situational. I have a World Gorger in graveyard. I would say within World Gorger in graveyard, my threat level is very high. Just like any animate dead top deck is a win attempt. I'd say in this scenario, on average, I think you're correct. I don't know if that's true.
I'm also not like facing any of the two, like Rhetoric and Tangelo 1v1 either. Like, they're both amassing different types of advantage over me, while I draw 2 cards a turn.
Tangelo is also going to lose creatures to Walking Ballista. Like, Rhetoric is going to probably sit there and like, oh damn, Tangelo is like the arch enemy. I'm gonna focus him now. Such. So
I guess you dying does help me, but I still need at least 2 to 3 turns to be able to beat the interaction from Rhetoric.
And in any case, we hope you enjoyed this long 40 battle match, and thank you so much for watching. We'll be back as always next week. See ya!